running full speed, but the markets are faster. Quasar Markets Live brings the world's top financial minds to you. Everything you need to know in one place. Learn from elite educators and gain a competitive edge, leveling the playing field for you. Join the conversation. Quasar Markets Live.
Good morning, Quasar Markets Live. I hope everyone had a safe and happy Easter weekend. Happy Patriots Day to all you Bostonians like myself out there. Red Sox start very soon here. And good morning to BigBeat. How you doing, my friend?
I'm good. Look, it was a long weekend. Usually when you have a long weekend like that, I think people get to sometimes reevaluate the world and we get a pause, and 3 days is usually not enough, as we all know, as Buffett would say. But you know what's interesting is the world really hasn't changed much. I mean, the tariffs are still on. The world just isn't getting different. The same things are still going on. So for me, I think this is a busy week. A lot of earnings, a lot of data coming out. You know what's interesting? I just saw on CNBC. I was watching Austin Goolsbee from Chicago talk about what was going on in the world in regards to the interest rates, and he said, "Look, my job is to make sure that everything goes well, that we have full employment, and we keep inflation in check." And it seems that they're worried about it, right? They're still worried. So I just saw, if you're worried about it, then why are we making Russia and China the most powerful countries in the world? Russian ruble at a 2-year high. What we just saw where NVIDIA is getting kicked out of China pretty much, where Huawei is now the new chipset for graphic GPUs. So this is not a good. I think this is backfiring on the president pretty much heavily in a way that he didn't expect. And the Dixie right now, you can see it right now, 98.11, not good. And the gold, they're over $3,400 an ounce, Howard. That's not a good place for the United States to be in.
Yeah, I can't argue with anything that you said there for sure. You know, I'd even go further and say, you know, China's now made it clear to countries that are thinking about working with the U.S. That they will impose more tariffs on those countries. In other words, you know, a friend of my enemy is an enemy of mine, which is not a good thing to see either. So definitely, you know, you see a flight to safety when it comes to gold, and crypto's going through the roof in general across the board too, as people are looking for, you know, safety even in altcoins, never mind in Bitcoin and Ethereum and those. So QQQ slated to open up, you know, NASDAQ down about 1.37%, SPY down 1.04. And my bigger takeaway, Steve, is that it seems to me to settle in with most people with the fact there that you every analyst is basically saying, hey, we're in this for a while now. You know, the talks of the transitory and those things are gone. Hey, I just saw that BigBeat just gave away a year's subscription. That's worth like $300, $400 at Quasar Markets. At Brimes, if you will, I'm going to put an email post here. My email, if you will send me your email, we'll get you all set up there. So I'm putting that in the banners for you.
I like that, Brian. Congratulations. I love that.
If you don't ask, you can't win. So I love it, Brian. So you get a full year subscription. Remember, that includes our AI. So you're getting Perplexity, ChatGPT, all those built right into that already that we use to use our AI, along with NASDAQ, Fred, Edgar, and so many more databases that they don't use. So congratulations there. Make sure you're watching. You know, you never know. We should start doing that, Steve, at least once a week. That's a great call. So, Brian, thanks for our new promotion. You know, Steve, silver's trading up 32.99, you know, up. Seeing a lot of talk too that, you know, again, maybe the silver gold ratio that maybe we can have you talk about in a little while here, that's making it a good time to maybe look for silver as a better alpha for, you know, generating profits than what you see in gold. So I'd ask you what your take sort of is on that.
Yeah, you know, look, gold has been one of those places that people are hiding money into, right? When I look at the metal trade right now, It's what are they doing with it, right? Are they buying it to put it away and to shove it into a desk or to a safety security box? You know, I, there are two ways of looking at this. And you can say, okay, well, it's the fairest versus non-fair, so we can go over that later. But for me, the calculus side of things, the gold and silver ratio here, is that we are at an all-time
I can pull
high.
that up. Sorry, give me 1 second.
Yeah.
I was just
We're at an all-time high here with that, and that means people are nervous about the world, right? We know that, nothing new there. We know that governments are buying gold, but the people that are buying silver, as we always call it in the world of Wall Street, it's poor man's gold. And the biggest alpha, the path of least resistance, shall we say, is to the upside for silver. I like silver. I said it's going to $43. I'm only $10 away at this point. But we still have, but people will trade silver a little faster than gold. They won't just get in and get out, get in and get out like they will with silver.
Right. Silver doesn't seem to be the long-term holder. It's more, it's almost like crypto with the alts versus Bitcoin. It's first to be bought, first to be sold, so to speak. Part of it because it's inexpensive in ratio. And I put up the ratio, Steve. It's at 103.544, which, is pretty historical high outside of 2020 COVID, and that's what you're seeing. And what that means is it would take 103 ounces of silver to buy 1 ounce of gold. So, that ratio is sort of important. I use it a lot when I'm trading Bitcoin and Ethereum and alts. That ratio matters. Bitcoin dominance, Bitcoin versus ETH versus the other. Because if you're trading metals, you're really not trading US dollars. You're trading gold versus silver. And if you're using gold as your sort of alpha, if you always go back into gold for those gold bugs, the same way that I tend to go back into Bitcoin, then you don't rate it versus what's happening in dollar and inflation. You rate it versus what happened to gold. So if gold goes up 10%, did silver at least hold 10% and go up with it? Okay, Steve, we are looking pretty weak so far, pretty light volume. We also want to say, condolences, obviously, and a shame to see the Pope pass away on Easter Monday. But that news obviously came across last night. European markets are closed overnight tonight or last night for Easter Monday. They do it different than us. But Japan's Nikkei did come in down about 1.3%. And what got me scared a little bit more is the Shanghai was up. I think it is now switched. Let me just double check here. No, still up. So, people are showing some trust and putting some money in the Chinese markets, right?
Yeah, I mean, money's flowing out of the United States into foreign accounts. It's been that way now for about 6 months. We've seen this pretty heavily. So, I mean, this is where we're at. I think we talked about that this morning. The president's whole tariff war here is backfiring pretty fast now. When you got CNBC now talking about the backlash, and now the president's new poll numbers came out this morning, the lowest numbers of any president in modern history. This early in the administration, that's saying bad things about the economy. When you look at it from this is what he says he's going to fix the economy, and so he's been saying rhetoric like rip the Band-Aid off, and we've got to do these things, and at some point, Howard, it's got to work, or the people aren't going to believe you, right?
Right, absolutely. Well, they don't care even. You know what I mean? Is the Band-Aid? If you rip off, well, what I mean is that the Band-Aid talk stops working, because if the Band-Aid rips apart all your money, then you don't really, you don't care what he has to say. I will say, Steve, something you should be happy, I would think about: merger and acquisitions back in the limelight a little bit here. Capital One and Discover, and those numbers are way off now. You can see how they've jumped up. Discover is up now 7.29% here if I bring it up, and Capital One up 4.9 on this merger and acquisition. And interesting for me, I actually use both companies. So I'm interested to see how this merger works and stuff. I've been one of those people. I was always a hater of Discover Card till I got one, and then I actually like it. I like the cash.
Well, yeah, you get paid quite well, right? I mean, you get to see Jennifer Garner on her commercials for Capital One, and Discover Card pays well. They have a nice. The question there with that merger is which of the loyalty programs sticks, right? Do they put? Is there kind of like, pun intended, merger together for the same type? Because Capital One is not as good as Discover, but Capital One has more people, more money, and the two of them together, I think, is a very smart play going up against the big, Amex, Visa, and MasterCard. I don't see where the FTC, come on, FCC. Now, this is FTC. This is not a place where you stop this merger. This is a good one where it puts another one into play. I like this merger. This is a good merger.
Yeah,
we talked about it for a while. So I like it.
And what I'm going to wonder, Steve, does this because as we know, Capital One, their Visa and MasterCard, what they've been using for all these years as their credit cards, and they're such a huge credit card company. Will they switch us over to the Discover system? And that network is what I'll be curious to see is, do I get something that says, hey, your Visa is no longer going to be a Visa. It's actually going to be on the Discover network.
It's interesting when I was at Wachovia with the bank, it got moved up, so went to Wells Fargo. So, I think that you're not going to get a new name of a new company. It's not like a SoFi or something brand new. I think it's pretty much going to be what you think it is, right? It's going to be Capital One, but it could be there could be something that's a little bit different. What they do, for example, think of it like Amex, right? Amex Black, Amex Gold, Amex Silver.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm thinking. And they get their own network is the bigger takeaway for me. Correct. Is they now don't have to build out their own payment processing company. They bought one that's been very successful around the globe. So there, Stephen, we're talking about what else is moving up today. It's all the miners. One of your favorites that you brought up here, two of them actually. Newmont up 3.75%. Royal Gold, another one that I know you like, RGLD, up 2.54%. More in my world, although you are in that world too, but MSTR, Mara, all the crypto names moving up as Bitcoin moves up over the weekend too. Interesting one, Steve, I have for you, knowing where Catherine is from. Have you seen the talks about the issues that Pepsi's running into now? Pepsi, in an effort to avoid worldwide income tax, had moved all of their production of syrups to Ireland, which has the lowest corporate income tax, or one of them in the world, and a place where this was done. So I have two questions for you. So interesting. Coke did not do that, and Pepsi now facing those tariffs. So that is a takeaway that's interesting. The second part of that, though, is how is Ireland's economy? They got to be one that's really worried about all this tariff, right? Because
you know what, it's interesting you say that. I don't think Pepsi cares, because you can tariff the hell out of Pepsi right now, and they're probably going to make it back in all the taxes they saved. Right, the president's making a big mistake again. This is not economics 101. Look, you're running companies out of the number of companies that go to Delaware to incorporate, right? They're pulling out of Delaware. I mean,
they've been moving. Yeah, that's been going to Wyoming, Montana, some of those other states that are more red leaning and also have the same, sort of advantages for tax deferral.
Correct.
There. So yeah. But I thought that was a very interesting one. The other one I didn't know. Did you know that Dr. Pepper is now outsells Pepsi?
Yes, and I'm part of the problem. And I like Dr. Pepper. But Dr. Pepper
I do too. I didn't realize that it actually now outsold it. Again, as you read some of these articles, you find out just what I call stupid information that I fill my mind with.
But I think Dr. Pepper is mostly Keurig, right? I think that
it is Keurig Dr. Pepper, yeah. I did think it was interesting. Did you see that my daughter is very excited because they partnered with Dippin' Dots to make new flavors of Dr. Pepper that I'm sure are going to be just
that's from my home area, so Illinois, right? Dippin' Dots from. So look, the world is changing pretty quickly, and I think a lot of people don't really realize just how fast right now. And maybe it's scaring people, and that's why you're seeing gold at, my goodness, $34.22 now an ounce.
Just keep going
it's not stopping, and yet gold, silver under 33. Right, that's what I'm saying. Like people are buying gold and holding it. Silver's being traded. So there's going to be a little bit of a harder path to 43 than there will be for gold. But I haven't seen a single. I don't know if anybody else has seen a single gold commercial out there yet. I'm watching for them, not seeing it yet. So when I see those gold commercials, that's it. Watch out below. Gold will be dumping. Like
I don't think they have enough to sell. Right. I think right now those companies don't have enough. We'd have to ask Peter.
They don't have enough to sell. That's right.
Question, right.
That's why the price is going up, because there's not supply and demand. There's not enough supply. So that's right. And the demand is definitely going up. So that's why. And that's why miners are pushing faster, because they have to mine it faster. And they have that margins are higher and all kinds of things going on over there. So, right.
Steve, I mean, this is telling the story too of what's going on. DXY 98. Yeah. You know, you have to come all the way back to 2022 when we were still coming out of COVID to find the DXY at lower. And it basically has put us back to where we went through most of COVID at. So, you know, when it definitely not what you want to see.
In normal economic times, you want the dollar to go down so that our dollar becomes lot cheaper to acquire, so that you can buy more product from the United States. That's the best part of it.
Whether it be stocks or soap, it gives you the ability to buy more.
You get more buying power, right? And we just saw 105.
We don't want to see it erode to the point. What we want to do is see it in that 100 to 103 area, where it does that, but it presents opportunity for foreign investment into the U.S. and foreign buying of our products, but where our inflation isn't out of control when we want to buy a widget from China that we can't afford it either, right?
I mean, at 105 to 98, that's a 7% run. That means that people just got a 7% cut, and then all of a sudden prices of things have come down. Wow. I mean, it's going to get, yeah. I'll tell you, you want to talk about
election day, it's come down from 114. We're down 114 to 98.
Right. Yeah, at one point. That's right. We were asked about VRT there, Honda.
Okay, let me pull VRT. I can see that. 1 second here. VRT. Let me get my new screen here.
All right. Look at.
Yeah, finally got my first widescreen, and I'll tell you it's worth it.
Oh yeah. It's Vertiv Holdings. I'm not, as most people know, I'm not a big fan of Vertiv Holdings. I don't like their systems. They do cooling and distribution, and I'm just not the biggest fan of Vertiv Holdings. I think that they will probably do better if with other companies, and Vertiv is not one of them for me. But that's me, and they're building these centers, and it's costing them quite an arm and a leg to get these centers built. And I'm not a big fan of Vertiv Holdings, if people ask. But we don't know what to do.
Yeah, I would say from a chart side, you got to watch the downside to 61.52 here would be where I think you'd find support, and look for a move more to the upside. If it breaks 76.62, then it's going to run back up towards these 90 levels. So Vertiv, like you said, it's going to be a cash drain. I think is part of the problem from a fundamental level right now. They're going to invest a lot of money for a lot of time before they start to become more profitable, and that tends to be the problem on these. It takes a long time to build a data center. They're very exacting in their things. That's why when Intel is building a factory, it's going to take 10 years for it to get built. So I would warn for that. They have signed some big contracts, and they do want to become a basically an answer for a lot of companies. The other part is, Steve, and you would be a good answer for this, since you run a company that's involved in this. Do you want data in your own data center if you're one of the big boys, as opposed to having somebody else?
In the past, the difference between the haves and the have-nots is how much money you have in the bank. In the future, it's going to be how much data you own, right? And you don't want to give that data away. That data needs to go into a data bank or a data lake, as the technical term of it is. And you want to own your own data. That's part of it, right? And nobody wants to give that away. And I know that some of it is co-locations, colos, as we call it. And the other part for Vertiv is the federal side of things. So those two things really are hurting Vertiv a little bit. And manufacturing isn't going to come back to the United States. Sorry, guys. It just is what it is. It's just too expensive. I think it's a pipe dream in a lot of ways. So I'll tell you, when you look at power, and in this case, uninterruptible power, you've seen it everywhere. That power is coming from nuclear energy, and we're building micro nuclear power plants. The small ones, I heard the other day they're working on ones that are the size of semis. You can just pull the semi up with the nuclear power, and boom, you're going to power a whole village. It's
and
crazy.
What's funny is that ticker for one of those companies is just one away from VST, which is Vista.
Oh, sure.
One of the nuclear players that is involved in that. That type of play. Yeah, the SMRs, as they're called, small to medium reactors, that are going to be, used for this are, and again, those still take a long time to make. So those are things we've got to keep an eye on. We're 10 minutes from the open here. Advanced decline so far down about 1,500. Qs continue to slip now to almost 1.5 points to the downside. We did get a little bit of a double bottom here on the short term. So you could see a little bit of recovery here towards the cash open. But if I don't see a move over 438.53, I think we continue to slide here on the Qs. On the SPY, a similar setup so far, although the double bottom just below the VWAP here. So a little bit of a better setup on SPY here. It's actually broken above VWAP here right now. And again, a break of about 521.50 could give us a little bit of a move to the upside here today. Earnings, like you said, Steve, all week. We got earnings. Not a huge amount today, but after the close today, we have Alliance Bancorp. We got Zions Bancorp, and we got WR Berkeley. Tomorrow is when they really start hitting here. I'll be watching Pulte Group tomorrow to see what's going on in the homes. Also interested in Verizon, of course, Moody's, and a few others there. Elevance Health, for those of you that like the healthcare. When we get to the 23rd, we start to look at Boston Scientific, United Rentals. Discover that we just spoke about will be in the highlights then. Tesla is also that day. We also have key earnings on the 24th with Intel, Union Pacific, Pepsi, I just talked about, and Merck, along with Google. And then when we get into Friday, you get HCA Healthcare, Charter Communications, AutoNation, and Colgate. So big week of earnings on ahead. Steve, anything in particular you're looking for to see? Are you looking to see the CEOs? It looks like most of them are giving forward guidance again, right?
They are. They're not giving full guidance. They're giving less full-throated guidance. They're just not sure yet, right? They're still concerned about tariffs. They're still concerned about the next level. They don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to be honest with you. When you look at it from the perspective of the Fed, they say that they're looking at two things, right? But I think for me, the number one is going to, well, I'll say two things. Number one is jobless claims. I mean, jobless claims for me is going to be a big question mark, right? Are people really losing their jobs, or is it just talk, right? And then, of course, I think for me, it's, again, consumer sentiment. I know that it's not always the best question mark. But the American Association of Individual Investors, AAII, is going to come out with a report as well, telling us whether or not they're worried too, right? So far, they're not. Yeah, there you go. The final consumer sentiment numbers for April. I don't know, man. It's a good question. You know, like if you look at it and you say, hey, okay, are people feeling good? Are they losing their jobs? How's the guidance? You start to get a better feel, right? This is April. But I know that there's an adage that's going to come around and people are going to start talking about it. We're going to start seeing it and sell in May and go away. And does that start to happen? And I think sell in May and go away actually does happen again. And I think they already started selling, to be honest with you. I think that was already happening. Yeah, consumer sentiment's a big one for me, and jobless claims.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say you brought up, the Fed. We're going to have them talking, unfortunately, all week.
Oh yeah, they can't help themselves. They'll be on TV.
You got
Oh,
Parker, Kashkari, Barkin, Goolsby, Waller, Bostic, all speaking. We do have flash PMIs on Wednesday. Those don't really matter to me as much. I think it's the jobless claims and, like you said, final consumer sentiment for April.
oh, silver jumping hard here.
Is silver jumping hard?
Silver just fell about
Oh, yeah,
20
silver
cents.
just dropped down. Someone's selling their silver.
That's what I'm saying, right?
Huh,
Look, gold and silver selling, but not that much. Gold's come up a little bit, $10 an ounce, but that's what I'm saying. Silver is more traded. That's why it's a little harder for silver. And maybe because dollar's coming up a little bit, 98.32 here a little bit, but yeah, somebody just dumped their silver.
Yep. Yeah, it went down pretty quickly there. Q's down 1.54, about 5 minutes from the open. SPY down 1.09%. Like we said, advanced decline down about 1,500. As we look at the 10-year here, Steve, 4.377. So it's still sticky in this higher spots as the Fed speakers continue to speak. Most of it, doesn't seem like they are going to be very quick to, move us out of the current rates, quite frankly.
Correct. Well, I mean, you know what my feeling is on it. I have been screaming at the Fed to lower the rates, to get it done. The president's been saying lower rates. It was interesting, Howard. I was out and about a little bit over the weekend, and it was, I mean, people come to me all the time, ask about what stock. It was not about stocks this time around when I was out there. They were talking about inflation. They were talking to me about what the president's doing. He's doing the right thing, They're talking about more macro things now, which is good. But it tells me that people are worried, that people are really concerned that maybe they, that we're not sure what's going to happen here. Is this tariff, are these countries going to back down? And you saw where Japan said they're going to, just cut a deal. And then this morning you saw, well, we're not going to keep doing this. You saw where the foreign finance minister said, hey, Japan's done making deals here. All of a sudden that makes you worried a little bit.
Well, and that's why I brought it up earlier about China made it clear you're going to pick a side if you make a deal with Trump right now. So you make sure that you want to make that deal, because if you are, you're writing off the Chinese just like America is. So basically, both guys are just staring at each other and saying, we're in. Let's go. Show me your card.
It's funny, Jim Iorio, we had him on the show the other day, and he's like, it's like an old country spaghetti western, right? Where the opening scene is you see two guys on the street in Deadwood, and everybody around them is dead.
Pick your gun out and shoot.
Right, and everybody's dead already. You're like, what happened here? Look, that's just the case, right? We gotta be very careful as economists are coming out and telling us they don't know. They say, well, that this is raising inflation. It will. If we cut rates and we have this trade war, yes, inflation is going to go up because things are going to cost a whole lot more. And that's why you're seeing gold and silver pushing up. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Takeaways I had, I think we read the same article from Market Watch where, it was Yardeni talking, and it said 31.8% of the under 40 crowd expect stock prices to rise in the next 12, just 31%. So that's almost 70% that are expecting stocks to actually go down. And the 40 to 60 crowd, where the money is right now, 35% still feel that it's going, up. So that's 65% still.
And I like that. I mean, look, I want to be the ticker takers. I always say, I'll take their shares. Thank you. Because they'll be buying them back in grows when the market goes back up. I don't want to be the complete knife holder here, but I don't, if you like something at 100 and it's at $20, okay, well, there you go. Dollar cost averaging is great. That's what I heard all weekend. Well, great. Every time the market goes down, I like this. I'm going to buy more.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, because NVIDIA under 100 to me is always a value. And I am, was going to mention it on the thing. I will be picking some up here before.
I'm not a happy camper with the NVIDIA under 100. I mean, I understand why. I don't like it under 100 because I think it's silly. But it is what it is. People are just, that's what happens,
No,
you know.
so that's, I'm going to take advantage, like you said, and be a ticket taker today. I do want to see what we do at the open because, like I said, I have some key points, spots I'm already looking at where the Q's got to get back above. If we're really going to move to the upside, we are. There we go. Cash, we are open. Cash market first moves to the upside here. Tick is pretty
Come
flat.
on, Bitcoin.
Here goes Q. Q moving up nicely, 438.68. So here we go, trying to get a little bit of a run here. So Qs have made up about a half a point here on that open.
There you go. There's NVIDIA going back above 100. There you go.
Advanced decline down about 32.51 now to the downside. NVIDIA at 99.20 here. All of the Mag 7 outside of Netflix moving to the upside or red to open. Tesla down. Wow, Tesla's down another 5% here today, Steve. Just got nailed on the open. So people definitely faded the Musk here today again, down 5%. Now 5.3. Whoa, we're definitely getting liquidations across some of Tesla here. Move to the downside, like I said. NVIDIA trying to battle back to the upside. Tick is negative about 200 so far. What I don't like is VIX has climbed back up 8% here on the open, Steve, back up around 31.96. So, man, it's tough to get used to the VIX being, 30 being the new neutral, huh?
Yeah, I mean, there is a little bit of a drop there in the VIX, but it's, man, Tesla is getting absolutely.
That's what it tells you. To me, that tells me everything. Again, is the VIX
and silver back above 32. There you go, 32.95. About to hit 33 again, 32.96.
And that's what Steve's talking about. You want to be that ticket taker when this makes no sense, and you see a 1% drop to the downside. That's where Steve usually looks to pick something up like that. So keep that in mind. There's money. There's definitely money to be made in this market. Everybody, we're pointing it out where it is. If you see irrational moves either way right now, it's been a reversion to the mean afterwards. As we're looking at the early morning gainers, like we talked about, Discover Card up 5.4%, so it's given back a little bit here on the cash open. Citicorp, Capital One up 2.86, so a little bit of a sell-off here as people take profits here as they wake up to that merger news. Moving to the upside still, we got Newmont, the mining companies, up 3%, Royal Gold up 3.15%, MSTR up 2.47% today, and Mara up 1.62%. So we do see a lot of moves to the upside in general here today.
Oh, Tesla down here is interesting here.
Tesla jumped up nicely from that 230 spot. Nice move back up. Tesla now at the high of the cash market.
The dollar is trying to push back here at 98.37, so there might be some buyers in the dollar here.
Tick still sliding down to the downside. Advanced decline down at 34.40 right now. So we are seeing a little bit of a slide still across the board.
There's that dumping silver again.
Take a look here. We do see, as we look, I have Quasar Markets website pulled up here, the platform, the way I keep it, taking a look at my heat maps. First thing here, you can see everything pretty much in the green when it comes to crypto. Thing is moving to the downside still. Smart 2 US, which is a small coin.
87.5 there on Bitcoin. Woohoo! Let's go.
Nice move to the upside. We got room to 89 for sure today. Was sort of what I was looking at there. We do have room to the upside. Take a look here. Do you see some sectors that are doing pretty well? Consumer non-durables moving to the upside nicely today. Procter & Gamble up 2.55%. Coke up 1.83%. Pepsi up 1.96%. Philip Morris up 1.7%. Nike, whoa, Steve. Nike up 4.13% here this morning. Didn't see that.
Yeah, nice. I got the shoes. So, I mean, I totally understand. I've said this a lot, that Nike was one of those companies.
Again, Energy Miners, another company moving to the upside today. ExxonMobil up 2.62%. Chevron up 1.85%. I don't know who COP is off the top of my head.
Russia's Putin now says that fighting has resumed after the Easter truce. Says that they have a positive edit. Russia has positive attitude to any peace initiatives. Expects Kiev to have the same attitude. So I don't know. Russia said over the weekend that they were going to pause during Easter break, and then of course continue to fight. So I don't, not much that I'm listening to on this one here.
Seeing transportation up nicely here today too. Uber up 2.98%. Union Pacific up 1.69. Mentioned they have earnings later in the week, I believe Friday. UPS up 2.37%. DoorDash, CSX, another one of the big train companies, and FedEx all nicely to the upside here. Airlines not getting that same move to the upside. UAL down 1%. Delta down. Beloved down 2%. Utilities are sort of mixed bag too. Most of them up slightly here. NEE up 1%. Duke Energy up 1.2%. CEG Constellation Energy up 1.22%. So we are seeing the defensive names, Steve, seem to be, and that's what I'd say is I've noticed that we get one day of defensive names seem to take the headlines, and then the next day all the speculative tech stocks jump back, and they just keep on selling off, and we just see this whip lash kind of work its way through.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at, and I think we go right on higher with Bitcoin. I think it goes over 100,000 by the summer.
Definitely, and like I said, you can take a look. Electronic technology outside of Apple up 1.39%, NVIDIA down almost 3%, AVGO down 2% here this morning, AMD down 89 basis points, ANET down 93 basis points. So a little bit of a mixed bag. We do see Dell up a little bit here, 1.79%. Nice move to the upside. Actually, Boeing up a little bit here, up about 3.47% here today. That's interesting, Steve. More and more talk about those Chinese planes that got sent back. Trying to see if they can be reused by somebody else.
I mean, Boeing has a 5-year backlog. I mean, that's not one company that I would be worried too much about.
We'll say you've seen a mixed bag across retail today too, Steve. While Amazon's down about 1% here, Walmart up 2.24%.
That's getting harder here now.
Costco up 2.76%. Home Depot up 2.62%. Lowe's up 2.14%. You know what? I did want to take a look here. Lowe's, if I'm not mistaken.
So we're hearing that Air India is keen to take Boeing planes refused by Chinese airlines. I kind of agree with that, right? There's a 5-year backlog, like I said, in Boeing, and what they'll just do is they'll just reapportion it to the places that already wanted them. Same types of planes. They're just like, okay, we just repaint them. That's not a big deal. Expensive, but they'll repaint them.
Yeah.
And the bounce in Tesla's really wild this morning. That tells me the algos are really fighting right now.
Yeah, that's why we always talk about staying out of it here in this early morning. And if you look here, this is the 1-minute chart. I mean, that's, whoops, pull up the daily chart. 1-minute chart's a little nuts here. Big move to the downside right now. Setting lower lows. You don't want to see that. 227 now on the lows. Wow, NVIDIA now down to 98. That's why I said I was waiting for this first half hour or so to bounce off before I make my decisions. But I love it, NVIDIA at this price personally. Down here, I do like Google down here too. If it gets below 150, I was looking at that today as a sort of threshold that I kind of liked. Got 148.27 as my actual target there.
Gold trying again here. We'll see if gold can't do it again.
And I do want to point out when I say that I'm looking at some of these here, this is, again, I'm starting to accumulate for the long term. I'm not making big positions. I'm taking small positions, maybe 1/10 of what I want to have in a stock. So if I want to have 100 shares of NVIDIA at some point today, maybe I buy 10 of them. So that's what I'm sort of looking at today as a DCA day. But I'm waiting to see how it plays out here in the morning with the Qs, first of all, because a lot of the names I am looking at are on the tech side today. I think tech's getting beat up on, we already knew most of this bad news. 437.59 on the Qs here, unable to move back up, although
There he goes. Come on, baby. Let's go, Bitcoin.
tick
Come on,
trying to get
Bitcoin.
neutral here. Dow Jones now down about 1.09%, SPY down 1.22%. Dow is scraping the bottoms of the day too. So is the Qs right now.
We're seeing where Putin is now saying we can see that Kiev is now trying to seize the initiative with a new moratorium proposal. So it looks like they're trying to have some kind of peace in Ukraine. We'll see. That'd be good.
It'd be fantastic. RUT's down about 1.14. I will say I am going to start to look at some of those names that are in the RUT, the small caps here that are getting beat up also. Coinbase up about 93 basis points here, 176.66. Steve, did you see that Schwab announced that they will have crypto trading by the end of the year?
I love it. Of course.
Made sure that they did mention that. And as you can see, I am looking for a rally towards 90 to 92,000 on Bitcoin here. Not necessarily today, but the way we're playing out looks like we have a run in us to about that level. And I'm looking for it right about this level right here to here, right in this spot where we right about that level.
I saw where Chipotle is opening up in Mexico.
That's kind of weird.
Yeah, how about that? Reverse there, huh?
That's going to be a tough sell, I think. You know who buy it? American tourists while they're there.
Yeah, it's not the cruise
Because we seem to. I always amazes me when I go to a foreign country and I see Americans walking into McDonald's. Man, Hertz getting hit hard here. Steve down 16%, giving back almost all of what it made after that announcement of Pershing Square.
I'd like to see a little pop here on the Bitcoin, breaking the 97.7, or I'm sorry, the 87.7. VXX is 73 now, pushing just a little bit to the upside here, just a little bit. I mean, the advanced decline at 39 minus 39.29 is telling me everything, right? It's gonna be a very bearish day, so we need to really see that. But yeah.
Yeah, you can see Bitcoin definitely struggling on the hourly chart here at that 87,500 area. Gotten knocked pretty far down at that spot every time here.
But you know what? Last week when we were buying down there at 77.2, we were all happy, right?
Oh, yeah. Banks holding up pretty well today. JP Morgan down about 32 basis points. Bank of America getting hit a little harder, down 1.68. Wells Fargo flat on the day. Morgan Stanley down about 1.19. So some of the earnings
President
from
Trump says there's virtually no inflation.
Well, that's good to hear for him. I need to shop where he does. Let's see here. Crypto stock still on the upside here. MSTR back at 323.03. He hinted at a buy. I haven't seen if he's put out yet today whether or not they did. But Saylor did hint at a buy over the weekend. Let's see. Yep. Oh, there they go. Look at that. It just hit. They added 6,556 Bitcoin for another 558 million. I'll pull that up here. If it will work. There we go.
Trump now says the PAL is always late except during election period. Oof.
So like I said, strategy here. MicroStrategy bought another $555 million worth of Bitcoin at 84,785. So Michael Saylor definitely is not scared. And they now own 538,000 Bitcoin, trailing only the Satoshi wallet. Putin is skeptical that the EU has the capacity to make good on warnings against officials attending Victory Day in Moscow.
So now Trump is blaming the slowing down of the economy on whether or not we raise or lower interest.
On Powell, yeah.
Yeah.
Powell's fault.
I mean, I don't disagree with him that I agree that we need to lower rates. And I mean, I've said this, I've called for it several times. But to now blame Powell for everything is kind of a little bit much, you know, especially Mr. Tariff guy. So lowering rates, killing the dollar, and inflation going. I mean, these are not good for the U.S. economy. It's just really not doing it the wrong way. So
putting his actual tweet, Truth Social there at the bottom, he said preemptive cuts in interest rates are being called for by many, with energy costs way down, food prices, including Biden's egg disaster, substantially lower, and most other things trending down. There is virtually no inflation. With these costs trending so nicely downward, just what I predicted they would do. There is almost no inflation, but there can be a slowing of the economy unless Mr. Too Late, a major loser, lowers interest rates. Now Europe has already lowered 7 times. Powell has always been too late, except when it came to the election period, when he lowered in order to help keep sleepy Joe Biden, later Kamala, get elected. How did that work out? God.
I mean, we had a pretty good economy back then.
Exactly.
I don't know if that's a good argument for him to say.
How did that work out? Let's see. The Qs were trading at 540, and the SPY was trading at 600.
Yeah, I mean, the market was really overcooked during the Biden administration. We had too much money flowing. The QE was just pumping cash out to everybody. So there was the Biden administration. I'll call them out too, right? They were doing the wrong thing as well. Like they were just pumping.
Oh yeah. Well, they printed.
Well, we can't have nice things here, Howard.
No, and they just printed money, printed. Tick still negative, advanced decline still going. As you guys could tell, Steve and I were pretty negative on the day. Not normal for both of us to be negative on a day. That is not normally how both of us are. But I just don't see enough. Let's put it this way: the news out of, and these are my takeaways that I would say, Steve. The news out of Japan that basically backtracks a week's worth of good headlines, right? The war in the Ukraine, while there's still rhetoric that things are moving in the right direction, nothing's actually moved in the right direction there, really. The Middle East still a disaster there too. Things just don't look great around the globe in general.
Where it's good right now, it still is India. The output for manufacturing, the output for the rupee is falling, which makes it cheaper over there. But I mean, going up. India's infrastructure is pushing up. There's a lot going on good in India, and I've said this for the last 6 months that India is the place to go invest in because they're doing the right things over there. I know that Narendra Modi is a little bit of have a heavy hand, obviously, but yeah, I mean, India has been the world place to put money lately.
Bitcoin jumping back up here, trying to break that 87,450 area here. Iran's top diplomat to visit China on Tuesday.
Market sell-off. There it is on CNBC. Big red sign. Expect market in turmoil again. 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 500-point down day, and the Dow was like sitting in my chair and like, what the heck's happening here? Today it's called a Monday, right? Really. So we understand the volatility is back. We get it. It's based on tweets and whatever the stream is today. But I also think that the market was overbought. We know that. But right now, I'm saying it right now that maybe if we get one little good thing, one little good news, and boom, we explode to the upside. So I would not be sure. The path is not the least resistance. It's not to the downside right now. You're already seeing the downside. It's right back up again, but we're not there yet.
No, because what I would point to is those that had good earnings outside of Netflix have seen those earnings, that good.
And what have I said about Netflix? It's still good. I mean, Netflix has a new show out. Lots of new shows actually on Netflix. I don't want to give it away to anybody, but I was watching The Last of Us, which is one of my favorite games to play back in the day, and we were watching. And I don't want to give it away, but the episode that was released yesterday on HBO or Max, Warner Brothers Action, was very climactic in the middle of the season. So I expect these companies, these streaming companies, to do even better because they're going to start moving money around. I like streaming right now. People are going to sit at home. They're not going to go to the movie theater. They're going to do this. I think Black Mirror was fairly good at Netflix. I'm not going to give my I guess my thumbs up, thumbs down here on the streaming movies, but I think people are going to be at home watching movies again.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, that's what they basically said. The Netflix and chill days are sort of back. If the economy is going down, that's what you're going to see more of. I always wonder in the summer, though. I think that it dies down. People spend so much more time outside. And not in front of their TVs, but we'll see what we get there. We do have a bunch of analyst reports or analyst calls coming up today on NVIDIA, Apple, Tesla, Netflix, Roblox, Disney, Amazon, and Microsoft, and others. So we'll keep you updated. Again, I have up, this is Quasar Markets platform up that you see in front of you. Gives me all the news, and all I got to do is come down to the institutional news. If I want to see all these upgrades in real time, you have them right here. So B. Riley at 950 just gave a price target lowering of B. Riley, or excuse me, of Eagle Point, lowered them from $17.50 to $17. So this stuff right here in front of me, everything that there is to know about the markets right at the tip of your fingers, all on one screen. This used to be on 6 screens for me. Now I have the ability to get to it all in one place. I can see everything that's going on pretty much across the globe when it comes to news right here. If I want to take a look at the data itself, I can take a look here. Here I got all my trade halts. So the last trade halt to came across about 4 minutes ago. American Rebel Holdings REB. So if any of you are one of those folks that like to play those penny pumpers, you could play that. Another one of my favorite penny pumpers was halted about 6 minutes ago, Micro Algo, MLGO. So you can look at that. Market movers, what is moving the most to the upside or downside today right here for you. I like to look at most active by volume to see if anything pops out there that shouldn't be there, but they're not right now. It's NVIDIA, Tesla, Netflix, the SPY, Palantir, QQQ. We'll see GLD getting a large amount of inflows here this morning. MSTR also, so I'm looking at inflows there. Once I get that information, if I want to know what else is going on, so you can see I was looking and seeing what was going on with MSTR this morning. I can take a look to see, what news is hitting MSTR here this morning. I can come down, take a look at their option chain here.
Gold 34.24. We just now hit an all-time high here on gold now. 34.25, popping now again. And yet silver's not keeping. Wow, it's interesting. An interesting play here with the dollar here now at 98.22. Now, advanced decline down minus 4,000. Howard, that's it's going to be a
Yeah,
negative.
everything could slide into the downside. Unfortunately, in general, things moving up. Bitcoin holding up pretty well. Ethereum holding up well, and gold holding up well. Without a doubt. Oil is dropping again, Steve. WTI back at 61.76. So again, we know if it falls below that 60 level, you tend to see, some of the pumping stop.
Yeah, I mean, it's not too long ago it was at 56, but we're back to 61. I mean, oil companies aren't doing well right now. Their margins are not good right now.
Yeah. All 11 sectors of this, Spider Select funds are on the downside right now, with technology down the most, or actually consumer discretionary down the most, 2.21% on the downside, and XLK technology down about 2%. I do see we have an early riser this morning and visiting us, so let's get him on the board here. We've got the man, Stephen Flanagan. How are you doing, Mr.
Good morning, gentlemen. Wow. I never saw the dollar index going down this low, but when you cross that line and touch that electric current and challenge the Fed, this is the reaction the markets are going to give you.
I was looking at Bloomberg this morning, and Andreas Kluth, who's a columnist for Bloomberg, wrote, "The U.S. is leaving the world behind faster than feared." Her point is that barely into 100 days in Trump's second term, the U.S. is veering from benevolence to negligence in international affairs. Malevolence is next. That's a pretty harsh coming out of Bloomberg about the president. Also, the president, new numbers coming out on the economy, just hit the lowest of any president in modern history on the economy. And I think I said this earlier to Howard, that while I was out and about over the weekend, no one was asking me about individual stocks anymore. They were asking about inflation and will I lose my job? That seems to be a big turn of events since last November, when people were feeling good about the economy and feeling good about Trump. Now all of a sudden they're not, and Trump's turning his anger towards Powell. All of these things don't add up to a good feeling for a lot of people. We're seeing that now, and that's why you're seeing the wealth. Obviously, now the dollar now at 98.24. Talk to me, Steve. Tell me what the feeling is, what you're seeing up there.
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, we're desperately needing some positive news, whether that's on the trade front, whether that's on some economic indicator. People are beginning, the worst part about emotions is once they begin to take hold of market sentiment, they are so difficult to, get back out of the saddle. The way this market's trading, the rapidness in which the price action is trading, though, I'm not so worried about that part, because when it starts to turn, it's going to turn very viciously. But until then, we're slipping into some negative territory here. People are beginning to be concerned. I guess, you got to, I would think he has to understand the press is not his friend. I don't think I've seen a positive comment out of a Bloomberg Newswire since January. And I watch that all the time as a good source of. I'm kind of really concerned right now. I don't like the levels that the dollar index is telling me at. This move overnight started in Asia. I was watching it from its open, and people are voting now, globally are voting, and they're worried. And fear is a horrible emotion in trading, and the dollar index move overnight is telling you that.
Okay, let's just say that that's the case, right? A dear good friend of mine once said, and says it all the time, money moves first. That'd be you, Steve Flanagan. Is the world giving us the finger? I mean, are people telling us, hey, you know what? You need to stop this nonsense? Or, I mean, even Japan was going to have a deal with us. And then the finance minister this morning was like, hey, even we're going to, you know what? We don't. And then I think Howard brought up the point this morning that China was like, hey, you got to make a deal. Are you going to go with China? Are you going to go with us? or you're going to go to the United States? Who are you going to pick? What side are you going to pick? All of a sudden, the world's splitting apart, right?
You know, as far as Japan, first of all, it was finance minister, and he's got really very zero to say about trade.
That's it. I agree.
But he's wearing right on the forehead currency manipulator. And so in that regard, that's, he's being accused of that, and he's got to speak out. So, let me just, my career, my experience, when we're in the moment of time, we all think that, oh my God, chaos, that's the new buzzword in the news media. And everybody is like, it's out of control. And looking at the price action, how do you not surmise that? But in hindsight, that you get over 40 plus years trading, you begin to see that, oh, wow, they actually, drove it down to those levels. Now, I'm not saying with any certainty that there's a master plan out there, but let's just pose this.
Oh, wait a minute now. Wait a minute, Steve. Wait a minute.
Yeah,
because a few weeks ago, you said the president had a plan. So now he doesn't have a plan?
I am saying that the global plan here is
the global plan.
Is
okay.
And that comes out of the U.S. is to shake the system, and we've done that.
We've done that. Okay.
But why would the dollar be dropping? Granted, it's confidence in people is okay. I get all that, but the dollar dropping, making U.S. cheaper, when you have got tariffs on all of your trade partners. Europe is sucking wind for growth. China is in a deflation. The UK is slipping around that 0% GDP. All right, slightly higher, 0.2, 0.3. But my point is, the dollar is going down, which is strangling them even, the world's economies even further. Now, I don't know if this would be that, second lever of pain for everybody to get to the table to negotiate. But I am saying that I'm worried that we're at a level now where things can quickly spiral a lot further and a lot faster.
So I have a question for you, though. Is that because people are more aligning with the fact that maybe there is going to be the change to the world order, and that the U.S. is losing its footing? And that, is the DXY telling us that? I'd have to ask it. I don't think it's necessarily the case, but you're saying it shouldn't be doing what it's doing. So to me, it shows that big money is saying, man, I think he played this card wrong, and this might not go the way of the U.S.
That is what the price is telling us today.
Okay, exactly. I had to ask because
I mean, look, I've had to reassess I still am king dollar. I still believe the dollar will eventually this year trade much higher. However, I have to acknowledge the prices. The price action is telling me the world is voting in a no confidence to the U.S. and this new world order that they're bringing. However, I will say from my experience, never trust the first move.
Right. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, Trump is going after, he's not turning the narrative and blaming Powell for everything, right? And he wants Powell out to lower rates. So, but
I'd also, as the contrarian to that one, I'd say that means he's looking for his exit strategy. So that could be good news, quite honestly. In other words, okay, this isn't working, but I'm going to blame Powell for it and take the tariffs down and do this and say it's his fault and I had to do this. See, this is the same stuff in D.C. and I couldn't get through. Even I couldn't get through it. So
look, I think the Powell subject, there's no question that for 6 months we've been back and forth about.
We agree with the president on this.
He's behind.
All three of us are on the same page there.
Yeah. So
all right. Well, he said this morning there's no inflation.
That's just another one of these. You better be sitting
Flanagan. You seem tongue-tied there, brother.
Well, I'm tongue-tied because I'm like, what do you mean there's no inflation? Yeah, okay, the numbers. Okay, I've been saying this. The numbers of inflation is going down. China is slipping into deflation. If we think we're going to sit out here and not experience some of that deflation, so prices are beginning to go down. The numbers that we have had are showing that. So
if we could put you in the Oval Office with the president, Howard Lutnick, and Scott Bessent, what would you tell them, Steve? What would you say to them if you had the ear of POTUS right now, knowing what we know now, where we are right now, and knowing the Philly does not have a plan? That what would you say to him right now, Mr. President? This is your first thing you should do.
You need positive news. You need something. I don't. If that means you get on a plane and fly to Hawaii and meet with the Japanese prime minister in Hawaii halfway as a show of faith, but you need some good news. Constantly smashing the podium, Nikita Khrushchev taking that shoe out, hitting the podium to make a point. It's beginning to lose its effect.
Okay.
I don't buy all the opinion polls. Honestly, I mean, they had them losing Iowa, right, a couple of days before the election. So I put the opinion polls behind because they can change in a dime and a minute. So if I had his ear, you need some positive news here.
And what positive news would you like to see right now coming out of anything?
You need a trade agreement. This is what you said. You gave 90 days.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Give me a trade agreement with somebody out there to show me that there's positive news coming.
And I think you're right. I mean, if we get one positive trade agreement, I think the other countries would fall in line and say, okay, here is what Trump has agreed to with Japan. I can get to that. I can get to the 10%. I can get to 20, whatever the numbers are. I can agree to that. And then all the countries fall in line. And we know that, right? It's like an investment, right? When the first person comes in, everybody else comes in, right? But nobody has faltered yet. I mean, you can say Mexico and Canada but they're all backing out now too. So you're right. I mean, there's not good news right now anywhere, not even Russia, Ukraine, not anything right now. And
I'd have to ask. I think it's because I think negotiation isn't really going the way of negotiation. Negotiation is, this is what we want, and you're going to do it our way. And that isn't necessarily, flying with all of these other countries.
I hope not. Because
I hope not too. But the fact that they're starting, that there hasn't been movement anywhere of any real sort of thing has me worried. Again, I was, give me a Mondi, give me a Japan, give me a somebody that you're already friends with, President Trump, and let's get it done. You know what I mean? Even I don't care if it's El Salvador and Bukele. Give me something that shows that you have another country that's saying you're on the right way forward.
Well, that money moves first. Looking at the dollar yen right now, dollar yen sitting right now at 140 right now.
We talked about the yen. Yen is the safe haven currency. It's a 0.5% interest rate, but people want to own it because they feel Japan, through it all, is going to be safe haven. It's reacted that way, and it is doing it again. We're at levels that we haven't seen in many, many years. Now you got to start, back into this. Is this a squeeze play here with the dollar trying to force negotiations?
Right.
If you push dollar yen much down below a 135 level, you're going to hear a choking sound coming out of Japan. And, and this is my point on the dollar right now. I think now when you start getting the currency moves that we're beginning to see, now you begin to get people saying, all right, look, let's get some sort of agreement. And I think that's now our trading partners. Now the pressure is deep on them because they've got to, get to the table here.
Yeah, I mean, the S&P is down 2% right now. Dow's down 700 points here, Steve. I mean, people aren't agreeing with the president. They're voting with their pocketbooks, right?
So, Mr. Flanagan, if we start to look at the DXY at this 98.28
in there,
I think he got. Yeah, I think somehow let's see if he comes back in here for us. But I was going to ask him
right. If you're looking at the Dixie right now and you're saying, okay, the safe haven is the yen, Howard, I agree with Steve Flanagan. He's absolutely right. I mean, look, it wasn't too long ago, it was 155. Right now it's at 140. I mean, you got a 10% discount there on the, I'm happy. I bought yen not too long ago, right, when I was in Tokyo. So, and I kept them. But where else in the safe haven? And it looks like it's gold, 34.28. It's not in the dollar. It's not in the United States.
Yeah, and I think, like he said, that's the thing to keep an eye on. I mean, gold's flying here, just absolutely flying.
I mean, gold is absolutely.
I mean, a 3% move in gold is just—it's almost unheard of.
Right, you know, and it's not stopping right now. And you know, what, being the crypto guy that you are, Howard, I have to ask. I mean, is this gonna continue to push on with the dollar falling? Does this help push Bitcoin up?
It should. Yes. Absolutely. You know, the cheaper Dixie makes Bitcoin usually move to the upside. We definitely seem to be capped today in this 87,500 area. Has been the huge resistance. So, and you get your 200-day MA right above you. We're going to need to break above that to see the next movement. I do see. There he is. He's back in the room. I think they're trying to silence you, Mr. Flanagan. You know, it's the cartels. The cabal is trying to silence you.
Did I say something I shouldn't have
I think
said?
the Illuminati is pissed off, Steve. Look, we just when you skipped out there, we were talking about it. You know, look, the safe haven has always been the U.S. dollar because of oil, right? I mean, that's because we price, right? And oil now is $62.38 a barrel. You know, getting down there back in the early part of April to $55 a barrel. I saw some interesting news on Chevron starting to drill more in the Gulf, right? I think that's what the president's wanting, right? Is to telling our country or companies to start producing here, right? Okay, so let's go drill in the oil, go drill the Gulf of Mexico, or let's go produce Intel chipsets here in the United States. But at some point, it's going to get too expensive if the dollar's falling and we're not selling product. Intel can't afford to build these plants, and if they don't sell these iPhones, they're not going to be able to produce a new plant of building iPhones here in the United States, right?
Absolutely, Steve. And, you know, we've got to take a historical look here. You tip this global economy any further, and it's going to take a coordinated effort to get it out.
Right.
Define coordinated effort. What does that mean? All the countries come together?
People are going to have to start agreeing. You know, I mean, it took so long to coordinate interest rates throughout the world to a level where there could be growth throughout the world, which benefited all. I'm not saying that we're out of that sync, but I'm getting a little bit nervous over, you know, market valuations in multiple sources. Clearly, gold is telling us something. Bitcoin here, you know, just kind of meandering at this level. It's not going to take much to see this back into the 90,000s again.
Yay. Yeah, I mean, you're right. So gold is hitting another high here, 34.30 now. So, I mean, it's just continue to push.
Yeah, and, you know, again, we are in desperate need of some positive news. And what everything is telling us in this price action in the market today is fear is beginning to take a grip. The yen is moving, the Swiss franc are moving, the euro reluctantly. Why does the euro move up when this? Because the euro is the number one largest traded country, $7.5 trillion one day, and the euro accounts for probably 45% of that volume. So if you're moving out of the US, you're going right into the euro because that's where all your liquidity is. And then subsequently, you watch what moves happen after that. You see the yen surge, the Swiss franc surge. These are currencies that are telling us, people are saying, look, until I know what's going on, I don't care if I'm missing a profit opportunity. I'm more right now into a capital preservation. And that's a bad thing to have in the marketplace. I would hope that they're, you know, fully aware when they're sitting down at the cabinet meeting that people are starting to tap going, look, we need to get something done. You got 90 days, but I need to see somebody at the table saying, okay, I can agree to all that. I just have this one caveat. And then the United States says, okay, we can agree to that. And somebody, bam, put it in writing, sealed, signed, delivered, and we can make who's next. In absence of that,
do you think the U.S. blinks? Do you think we blink? Do you think Trump backs down?
I think Trump is going to have to blink, but he's going to sell it. He's going to sell it that he didn't, and he's not backing down. I think he's going to sell the agreement. I think that's what he will sell. Those of us in the marketplace will probably say, he blinked.
So the art of the deal is going to be where these, if I were the one that had my ear in the White House, I would say this to them. I would say, look, all right, we've got our kind of selves in a mess here. Let's try to unwind the mess a bit. When NAFTA came around, it was about Canada and Mexico and the United States creating a trade agreement, one of the largest in the world, right? 3 major countries coming together, free trade. I think if you want to have good news, I think it could be good to have good trade agreements with bigger areas, a Europe trading agreement, a China trading agreement, and we could have bigger trade agreements where we're a little bit more closer. And I think, we already have the World Trade Organization, WTO. They seem to have no teeth in any of this right now. But they're not stepping up and saying, we are the WTO. We're going to make sure the balance is there. I personally would like to see where we would have major trading agreements, but more a conglomerate, right? All of China and maybe all of the Asia Pac, right? As opposed to onesies, twosies all day long, right? But I understand that Vietnam is different than Japan. I understand these countries are different. I get it. And we need different things from different people. But I think if we had a bigger trade agreement, I think people would chill out a lot better. If that's what he's looking for, I'm for that. It's going to take a little longer to do. I understand that. But right now, I think you're right. We need some good news, and we're not getting it. And I think we're going to see that until we look at there. The silver just fell out of bed again. So, I mean, yeah, Steve, I don't know. It just seems like that's what the talk right now over the week was to me.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with you at all here, Steve. I think you're right on to the point. That would be awesome, but that would take a long time negotiating, and I think that's the whole point. When people say, in 10 years' time, when they say, "Oh, what was it like during that?" If he is successful in getting some trade agreements through the door, everybody will look back and go, well, he had to act immediately because he only had really 2 years or a year and a half until congressional elections. So he really had to act quickly. So he had to come in with the, crash, bang, boom approach to get everybody to the table. So if that down the road, we can sit here and nod our heads that happened, that would be awesome. But right now in the marketplace, I'm worried that fear is beginning to build. And the second move after the first decline, it's the bounce back up that gets rejected, which we're seeing today. This is the move you have to pay close attention to, because this is the one that what do they say in Elliott Wave, the killer sea wave, or, one of those, charting technicals. And right now, you're beginning to face a situation where if this begins to turn from here, a lot of people and throw in the kitchen sink.
I think we're about to lose.
So that's what I'm worrying about right now. Fear gripping the market.
And we're going to call it from now on. We're going to call it the crash bang boom approach by Steve Flanagan. That's going to be the new thing now. Crash bang boom approach.
It is funny that I do agree with you. It is more of a talk about capital preservation than what stock should I pick up, as you said earlier. Steve has been more the talk. Yeah, we're here, Steve. No, I think we lost him again.
So Mexico's president Sheinbaum says did not receive or reach a final agreement in a call with President Trump. So they're still having problems there. All right, Mr. Flanagan, Mr. Greenberg, it's 10, look at that, 10:16, 10:18.
Everybody, okay, well, we'll call it a day here this morning. I am back with Dr. Alan Elman. He's filming his new episode today. We'll have that on later today.
I seem to be having some problems here, guys. So.
Oh, there he is. He's back again. Welcome, Mr. Flanagan. You there? No, we lost him again. There, he's there. Can you see us? I think we lost him. Okay, everybody.
I can see you guys. I'm having some issues on my side.
No problem. We are going to take it out of here, and we will see you all next time on Quasar Markets Live.